Hare Krishna. That was such a touching story of Jagai Madhai. Oh. Mataji, abhi nahi. That's Hindi. That was so touching. What was the most touching part of it for you? Raise your hand up. Young boys are very touched over here. No one else was touched by anything? Yes, Jagannath.
So one thing that touched me was they are willing to play the part of demons for the satisfaction of the Lord. So that part touched me. And they are willing to take such a bad name for the sake of the pleasure of the Lord.
That is amazing. But no one should follow their example.
Thank you.
What else touched someone else? Anyone else like to say what touched them? Oh, I can't resist. Yeah, who's going to go first? You decide amongst yourselves. This may take a long time.
The part when I got touched was when Nityanand Prabhu forgave the
Jagai Madhai.
And they delivered them because the only reason Jagai touched his feet.
Thank you.
My touching thing was where Jagai told Madhai to stop hitting Nityananda the second time.
Mm-hmm. So amidst all the badness, there was some goodness. And that was what Nityananda Prabhu saw. That's merciful vision. So who would like to be seen in that way? Amongst all the bad, seeing the good. So that's probably everyone. I haven't looked everywhere, but if I counted. But who would like to see others in that way? That second one is a little more difficult, but you would like to too? Right? Okay, nice. Yeah, but that's sometimes when I'm angry at some people. I think maybe I should be careful, because if what happens if Krishna gets angry at me for all the things that anyway, you know the rest of it. Okay. Sorry, dear. Okay, who else has another question? Oh, no one asked any question yet. Oh, yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Hare Krishna Mataji. In the afternoon we were discussing...
No, you have to do it the other way.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna Maharaj. In the afternoon we were discussing about Raghunath Das, and in his example we saw that he was ready to give up everything, but Lord asked him to stay back. So I know Lord has a plan for everyone, but I want to know what does that, how can I take that instruction in my life, and what is the significance of him asked to stay back? Like,
you mean as an example? Yes. One shouldn't prematurely act greater and more renounced and more detached than one is. One should be very honest and understand one's actual position. And when it's time to make advancement, Krishna will give us the arrangement, and sometimes he tests us to see what we really want, and also part of the example was that from whatever position you're in, you can be internally detached, because that's the more difficult of the two to attain. But you have to put your hand down right now, otherwise it will get tired, because we may speak for a long time. Because out of the two, the internal detachment is more difficult. So cultivate that first. And the most important thing about internal detachment is to develop internal attachment to Krishna, because otherwise detachment is difficult to maintain. But yet, Raghunath Das was a very special soul, and he became so detached because he was so internally attached. He became so detached that, as he showed ultimately the most exemplary of detachment by, he didn't do anything related. He never gratified his senses at all. So that's on one side, but we can't emphasize that simply without saying the fortune and the gloriousness of those who become who are externally detached and take up the austerity of renounced life, either as brahmachari or as sannyasi, because that is so glorious. It is so glorious. And in Kali Yuga it is difficult, because or even in previous ages it was difficult, but especially in Kali Yuga. So those who are serious about their renunciation, they are given so much respect and appreciation. And when Mahaprabhu actually told Raghunath to be internally detached, but don't worry about the external. He said the external will come by Krishna's arrangement at some time. He will give you the indication of when you should make your external situation reflect your internal detachment. And indeed, that did happen. And the desire, the intense desire to be with and serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so deep in Raghunath that the allurements of the material world, he was surrounded by all material opulence. That was also said. And Raghunath's mother said to his father in private, he said, "This boy keeps running away. We should bind him with ropes and keep him from running away. Stop him." And the father said that his wife is as beautiful as an angel. He has unlimited opulence. And if that won't bind him, what will ropes do? Who can stop one who has become mad by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? That's what Raghunath Das's father said. So Raghunath Das was actually aflame with the mercy. His consciousness was aflame with the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what that practically means is that he was following the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for him. So, and that brings us to another point, is that we really want to be in the position that is desired for us by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Were you thinking of taking sannyas? No. I'm just teasing. I already knew that. Did you want to add anything or subtract anything?
For Raghunath Das is an eternal eternally liberated soul. So his delaying or his waiting with his family or his going to Lord Chaitanya was no different. So when you ask how does that pertain to us, I would say that, just as my husband said, it may encourage us not to be impatient, because one of the qualities of a Vaishnava is that they're not impatient, and we all tend to be impatient. So that's on one side. And the other side was that he was told how to behave in the interim period by enjoying his situation in a simple way, acting normally in a simple outward way, but inwardly to have no attachment to the pleasures of his life. And that, as my husband said, in the end, Krishna would give the indication that now's the time. So we need to be praying for us very deeply to Krishna if we wish to leave a situation we see as unfavorable, that we don't do it on our own whim. Like, I don't like this, it's not helping me, I'm leaving. Won't necessarily produce that internal detachment from it. You might find yourself sliding into a similar situation somewhere else. That would be my thoughts on it.
And to add just one other point, that naturally one should get mercy, get blessings from, make sure that the blessings of Krishna are there in what we're doing, whatever situation we're in, but through the Guru Vaishnava system. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, cool. Because whatever situation we are in, we should serve Krishna through that. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Mother Hare Krishna Maharaj. When we were reading, listening about Srila Haridas Thakur, he was beaten at 22 marketplaces, but then by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, he didn't feel any pain. So how should I understand? Is it like physically he was still going through, like the beating was still on his body, but he didn't feel the pain in the sense spiritually, like he ignored the pain in consideration of mercy of Krishna?
Well, I was actually thinking about that question myself. What were the people seeing? Were they seeing him with whip marks all over his body and he was smiling? Or were they seeing him with no whip marks anywhere on his body, which would be kind of like, what's going on? So I actually can't answer that question for you, but I can say that later, when he was in the company of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed him his back, and he showed him that he had whip marks on his back, Lord Chaitanya, and he said, I was taking every time they were beating you, I was taking it, and I would have killed them in an instant for doing this. It was so horrible what they were trying to do, but you kept saying, forgive them, forgive them, forgive them at the same time. So there must have been something that they were seeing, that he's being beaten, but it doesn't sound like from that part of the story as if he was covered in blood.
And it does say I did hear you say he was smiling throughout that. So it was something very unique and mystical going on.
It's rare you see somebody smiling while somebody's beating them. Just that alone is like astonishing.
And it is all, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur says that those who are beating him said to Haridas, that they were completely exhausted from taking a stick and beating him again and again and again in each of the marketplaces. And they said, Haridas, this is very difficult for us. We're going to get into so much trouble. We're going to get killed ourselves for not doing the service, the job that we were told to do. And you're not dying. And he said, oh, you want me to die? Okay. And then he completely went unconscious. And that's when they brought his body. So it's obviously very supernatural and mysterious. Hare Krishna. Any other question? Shamasundar Krishna Bol. You call it someone.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances at your divine and lotus feet. I first of all wanted to express my immense gratitude for the wonderful katha and the chanting sessions that you did. So much so that I felt that you talked about the raindrops falling from the sky and what do we interpret. And at the end of the day today, I really felt as if they were your nectarian words soaking or wetting our arid hearts. The question I have is, you yesterday talked about that when we chant, there should be love in chanting. And you talked about giving pleasure to the Lord. So sometimes chanting may give pleasure to us, but if you could make us understand from a deeper sense, how do we chant in love, and what do you mean by giving, what do you really mean by giving pleasure to Lord? Because we can't see, we can't feel whether He's getting pleasure or not. We can feel that we are getting pleasure. So if you can help me to comprehend that in more detail.
Well, thank you. Thank you. If somehow mercy is dropping down like raindrops, and somehow or another it appears like they're coming from us, we are wondering where they are coming from, so we can only say that it is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and those who are following Srila Prabhupada, because without you, we don't have any ability to say anything of value. So it always takes two when there's Krishna Katha, there's the and it's really the quality of the devotees who are hearing that pulls. If there's any sweetness at all, it pulls it from even the hard rock-like substances of our hearts. So we thank you for being such sincere souls. Yes, thank you. And wanting to hear about Krishna. And how to develop love for Krishna, what are the meanings of the different stages. So, of course, Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Nectar of Devotion talks about the stages from Shraddha to Prem. And Mahaprabhu speaks in his Chaitanya, in his Shikshastakam, and each of the different verses that he speaks explains something about a different stage of love for Krishna. So when we chant and we hear that we're supposed to chant with love or we should chant with love, naturally we examine our own heart and we feel very empty of love when we're chanting. And that I chant Krishna's names for my pleasure, perhaps, and there's no love, there is self-centeredness, there's selfishness. And what will happen to me if somehow things go wrong in my life? And will I still be a devotee of Krishna, or will I blame Krishna? Why have you done this to me? After all I've given you, and this is happening. And then when those moods do pass through my consciousness, then I also think, no, how am I going to deal with the moment when it's time for me to leave this world? Am I going to take full shelter of Krishna? Am I going to accept reality as it is, the situation that's come to me due to my own fate? Am I actually be able to do more than just say some philosophy? Am I able to put into practice what I've been telling others for so many years? And when I'm not sure about the answer to those things, then some humility may take birth in my heart. And sometimes we find that humiliation precedes humility. We have to be humbled a little bit, and that's one thing we can count on in the material world, that it will humble us. It will humble us. So out of that, I would say paradox almost between the power of the chanting of the holy names and me realizing my own self-centeredness and turning to Krishna. And as Prabhupada said in one of those sound clips that we heard yesterday, that without your help, what hope do I have? So out of that paradox, out of the tension between this desire to be better, to love Krishna, and the understanding that I have no love for Krishna, and that what is born out of that humility is a calling out to Krishna, and what is born out of a calling out to Krishna is some mercy from Krishna comes, and that is what nourishes our bhakti more than anything else. Some mercy from Krishna. And then somehow or another Krishna will make some arrangement to help when he so desires. So I didn't fully answer your question, perhaps, but I told you what I understood was the essential ingredients of moving forward. Humility and desire to move forward in Krishna consciousness, desire to develop love for Krishna. And where does that desire come from? Good association, including Shastra, including the deities, including the holy names, and including the holy places, the holy dhams. So in those places, Krishna is close. He's closer. He's there, actually. And it's the veil of illusion covering our consciousness that only allows him to partially be perceived by us. But it's clear that he's there. Raise your hand if you've ever been to Sri Vrindavan Dham. Raise your hand if you've ever been to Sri Dham Mayapur. Now, is your experience, and of course I should add in Sri Jagannath Puri, there are so many holy places. But the places that are dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and even I can say in Vrindavan itself, the different holy places, the different places from Raman Reti to Bandiravan to Govardhan or Radhakund or Barshana or Nandagaon or Purnamasi Kund. We can just have fun just reciting all the places. But they all have a flavor, a different flavor. But each of those different flavors is not like the downtown Melbourne or downtown Perth or New York or dare I say Gurgaon. It's a different realm. There's a different, as I mentioned earlier, I can only say it's like a fragrance. It's something subtle, that there's a sweetness that we perceive is just behind the curtain. And it's almost impossible to not want to lift the curtain, even though that curtain is, lifting the curtain is beyond our capacity. So being in those places, being with a lot of kirtan, a lot of Krishna Katha, Srimad Bhagavatam, in association with devotees, and we saw this with Srila Prabhupada, and so many of his sincere followers, they carry like somewhat of a bubble around them of sweet Krishna consciousness. So these are the keys that give us perhaps some fragrance of perception that there is more to reality than I'm currently perceiving. And I want that. I want to taste more of that. I've tried to play in this realm of my own consciousness and move this piece around and move that piece around and enjoy this and scheme and plan and achieve and get defeated. And I'm getting tired of that and of the tastes of those tastes. And I would really like this other taste. I want, but I don't have much capacity to get it. So in those type of moods, and taking shelter of Krishna, and taking shelter of the holy names, and chanting in that mood, and hearing in that mood, and serving in that mood, prayerful dependence, need. That's where advancement is born. Now, I've probably drifted so far from the question that you asked me, but I can't remember what it was even, so I'll just stop. Hare Krishna.
Are there any ladies have questions? Pretty.
During the Katha, you mentioned that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an ocean of mercy, and he's 1,000 oceans of mercy, and he doesn't take any offenses. And that's obvious how he so kindly gave love of Godhead to Jagai Madhai and so many others who were around at that time. So I was just wondering, obviously there were special souls, they were around at that time when Mahaprabhu was on the planet. But in spite of them being so sinful, they were not only given the holy names, but they were also given love of Godhead. And I was thinking, yes, in present day we chant, we have the holy names, but unfortunately there is no love of Godhead. Like there is no, like the way Jagai and Madhai immediately took to it, and they had ecstatic symptoms, and so many others had ecstatic symptoms straight away. How do we understand that?
Well,
could you repeat the question, just in your understanding of the question in a simple way?
You want me to repeat the question?
No, I want you to repeat.
Okay. Jagai and Madhai, Lord Chaitanya is like oceans, and a million oceans of mercy, and he gave Jagai and Madhai, not only he freed them from all their bad activities, but he gave them love of Krishna. And how can we understand in our own case, he's giving us some freedom from all the sufferings of the world to some degree, but not any love of Krishna. So,
is that right?
Yes. So how do we understand this? Well, I find for myself that on one level, a Leela is like an enactment of some sort to show us and teach us something. Just like if we had a play here and somebody's playing certain roles, they're not necessarily as bad as they may be acting that role. They may be doing that for the benefit of instruction towards others. So on this level, Jagai and Madhai are eternal associates of Lord Chaitanya or Krishna Narayan, and they did 3 lifetimes where they played the role of being horrible, which none of us really would like to do, I don't think. And so they enacted these leelas for instruction of all of us. So, and in the fourth one, which wasn't, you could say, compulsory, because they were cursed for 3, in the fourth one, they showed what Lord Chaitanya's mercy is like. In the others, they just died, and they went to the next, died and went to the next, and then this one. They were abominable, and the mercy immediately transformed them. But we do read that they were lying around in the streets of Navadvip for quite some time. They weren't born into beauty. They acted horribly for such a long time. So, but he gave them love for Krishna. Not just he said, okay, we'll excuse you for all the horrible things you've done, you should go to jail, but you're pardoned. But he took it to the highest level and he gave love for Krishna. We say that prayer, Namo Mahavadhanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gauravase Namaha, because we pray to appreciate that Lord Chaitanya is coming with the teachings and a method that for us can give us the highest type of love that you could have in terms of love of God. He comes and he reveals to the world of sinful people, and I think even if some of us could say, one time I was talking to somebody and I said, what was the most powerful person you met who helped you in your Krishna consciousness? And he said, because he was simple, he said, well, I was born a devotee. My parents were devotees. I was born a devotee. So there wasn't anyone who made me Krishna conscious. I already was. But that's superficial. That's in one life. He had that opportunity. But if you trace back, you'll probably see that there were many lives where he was less fortunate. So we're working in a progression. We're not just working with this one life. Prabhupada would call it a spot life, one spot life. And if we were to probably see our progression of how we've come to where we are now, we would see how fortunate Lord Chaitanya has made us. Or if we were born into wealth, the wealth of bhakti, then we would also be able to appreciate that also is a good fortune. And the other thing is, so why is he not giving us love of God? Why do we have no love of God? Well, I remember Srila Prabhupada telling us, I think it was us, he said, there must be some love there, otherwise why would you be doing what you're doing? And I was a little surprised to hear that, because I was about to consider myself loveless. So the fact that we continue, there's something already coming through. And because we're seeking so high, not even just devotion, in the temple, please, I want to serve you, but I want a relationship with you. So it may take a little longer to mature to blossom into its full beauty. And in the meantime, the best thing that we can do is help each other to keep following, to keep on the path of growth until we come to the point where we do realize what we've been given. And we do feel ourselves to be tiny, tiny, insignificant and overwhelmingly grateful for what we have in our lives, that we can't help but take for granted in some way or another right now. So it's coming. That's what I'd say, Preeti, it's coming. It's not in one big lump sum, but it's coming.
Thank you, Mataji.
I would like to add a little bit. Okay. She's always telling me what to do. Or how I can do what I'm doing better. A three-part answer, because I had time to think about it while Mataji was sharing her thoughts. One part is that this is a very good prayer. that you should take this question to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And you say, Jagai and Madai were given so much mercy. And as Madai said to Nityananda, I've done every bad thing that he's done. And why is he getting mercy and not me? As if doing bad things was a sadhana for getting mercy. Which isn't something we will recommend. So you take that to Nityananda Prabhu. And you pray that I need so much mercy, and Jagai and Madhai are an example. But here I am, and I need so much mercy. You take that and sincerely pray. And Narottama Das Thakur actually prays in that way. He says, Jagai and Madhai are nothing compared to me. Please, Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatar Mosama. Patita, Prabhu, na paiva. You won't find anyone more needing of mercy than me, so it's a very good prayer. But will you really mean it when you pray like that? And depending upon how much we mean it, that's one answer. And another answer is that it is said that Jagai and Madhai did so many terrible things, but they had, and this is the heavier of the two answers, and they had one good quality. And that one good quality was that they didn't offend Vaishnavas. So I cannot say I share that good quality with them. And therefore I don't get the same kind of mercy that they got, because on one hand I pour water on my devotional creeper, on the other hand I cut it continuously down by my disturbing Vaishnavas and offending them. And one interesting way to look at, because we talk about Vaishnava Aparad, and you know, we're afraid of Vaishnava Aparad naturally. But one way to understand what aparad means is to insult Vaishnavas, or to make them feel bad, even if we didn't intend to do so. This is what we hear in the pastime of where Chitraketu, as the Vidyadhara, he says something about Lord Shiva's dealings with Parvati, and she got very upset. And when he came down and offered his obeisances and apologized to her, he started in his apology was exactly the wrong way to apologize to someone. He said, I'm sorry, even though I didn't do anything wrong. Now, who's going... And then Prabhupada explains in the purport something very, very deep. He didn't mean to do anything wrong, but somehow or another it disturbed you, what I was saying. I didn't mean to. I didn't do anything wrong in that sense. But what I said, it disturbed you, and I'm apologizing for that. So that could be a reason why we don't achieve so easily the kind of mercy that, in one sense, that we hoped for when we began chanting Hare Krishna. You know, chant Hare Krishna just like they say on the when I go to Delhi, you know, they have these Bhagavad Gita distribution vans, and it says, you know, read the Bhagavad Gita for an anxiety-free life. And I wonder what version they're reading. So it's sort of funny, but it's sort of sad also. But so we had a hope when we begin chanting that it's going to be so easy, and and we see all the devotees happily going around in the temple, and everyone looks so pure and perfect, and then we get to know people, and we like this one, and we don't like this one, and this one's like this, and this one, and then we talk to others about that. And at the same time, we hope that's not how Krishna sees us. So maybe sometimes there's some internal improvements that we have to make to see the good and to see the fortune, as Mataji was hinting at, and to be patient also, and to trust Krishna a little more, that we're actually being taken care of by him. Like the baby is secure in the lap of mother, but the baby doesn't know how well he's being actually taken care of. So trusting that a little bit more, perhaps. Just imagine how much anxiety that we carry would go away if we actually trusted that Krishna loved us and he was actually caring for us, even right now as we sit here protected by the rains. Yeah, so something like that too. Any question from this side? Yes, Prabhu, in the back. I saw that you raised your hand to scratch your head, and that's always an indication of a very deep question that's coming out. Yes. We need them. After you finish thanking them, then you can give them the microphone.
Haribo. Maharaj, thank you so much for the wonderful session. Thank you, Mataji. I just moved from Melbourne to Canberra for a while for my visa reason, and association plays a major role in our life, and going over there, it's pretty much by myself. Sometimes mind plays tricks with you, saying that, okay, Krishna is not that closer with you. Like going away from temple, from Melbourne temple, you go there all by yourself and you think, oh, Radha Vallabha sent you away for some weird reason. Mind plays you some tricks with you, Maharaj. So how do we progress from there? I'm feeling like I'm stuck at some point.
Well, you're in Canberra now?
Yes, Maharaj.
And you're missing the devotees in Melbourne?
Yes, Maharaj.
Did you hear that? There's something about the Melbourne temple that is,
yes,
and the dealings amongst the devotees, that is somewhat special in my opinion. Are you also thinking that?
Yes, Maharaj.
Are you appreciating it more now?
Yes, Maharaj.
Will you come back soon?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. Yes. You just wanted to express that, or you had a...
Yeah, but I just wanted to express thank you for all of the devotees from Melbourne itself, because you stay in such a protected environment. Everyone is here to help you progress in your sadhana and everything. And you go out, you're all by yourself trying to struggle. Yeah, but Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So please don't let him be alone. Maybe we can send you prasadam every week from Melbourne Prasad Mandir. You want to call on someone? Huh? You can call on someone.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Hare Krishna Mother. Please accept my most humble obeisances at your lotus feet.
You can go next, okay?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj and Jayatani Mataji, thank you very much for the mercy. It's been Festival of Mercy. I was thinking how the mercy has been flowing. Now we had so many deities here, and through them, it is through Prabhupada, and the mercy is flowing through both of your lotus mouth and entering of the ears and heart. Thank you very much. Now, my question is, recently in the study of Chaitanya Charitamrita under the guidance of Keshav Prabhu, we are doing the 5th chapter, and then Prabhu is mentioning that the glories of Lord Nityananda, that the lotus dust from the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda is so powerful that it is more powerful than the thousands of Lord Nrsimhadev's power. Now, that is in the glorification of Lord Nityananda Prabhu's expansion of Balaram. Now, I was trying to understand the Leela that you mentioned today, that same Lord Nityananda, Haridas Thakur running away just by seeing the Jagai Madhai. And then, of course, they were in a joking mood, and they were sharing the jokes and running away from them. Now, that powerful Lord Nityananda, who is running away at the same time from the two little mischievous, he could have turned, and then maybe he had a different plan. Then how do I comprehend that powerful personality when it comes to this Leela?
So the question is that how do I understand that Lord Nityananda in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says that the dust from his feet is more powerful than hundreds of Nrsimhadev's power. So how do I understand that he's running away in fear from these two drunkards? Well, the first thing is that he was not exactly running away in fear. He was laughing and joking as he was running first. So he wasn't really fearful like we would be fearful, like we would be so frightened perhaps that we would be trying to get a ride in a car, or we'd be terrified if these hoodlums were chasing us violently. But his running was playful. The first thing is that his running was playful. And the second one is in terms of the Leela, because Leela means it has to do with the taste, the experience. So if you have a friend or a companion, and they keep telling everybody as you're going around everywhere, you know who I am? I'm the President of the United States' son, and I don't have to do this, I don't do that, I'm this. It creates a certain type of interruption in flow of exchange, that you keep going back to who you are objectively. And it's more attractive if that person who's so influential, and you know they're so influential, if they're with you in the experience. So as we're supposed to go into the mood of appreciation of Lord Nityananda, for the rasa or the taste, it's very important that he's acting in a way that we can relate to, that he's afraid, but his fear is not like our fear. He's being chased by a mammoth, dangerous person, but he walked up to them and told them this instruction. He wasn't afraid to tell them the instruction, and he was laughing all the way, and he was determined that by this activity he would arrange for them to be transformed. So the Nityananda's characteristic we can hear in terms of the principles and truth, that he's so powerful, he's so great, and we must learn that. But his characteristic that we tend to want to grab hold of is how kind he is, how generous-hearted he is, how he's looking at somebody who's so disgusting, somebody we wouldn't even want to walk by, and he's thinking, how can I help that person to develop this pure love of that Lord Chaitanya? And he's thinking, I'm not the one to give it, I want to bring them, so Lord Chaitanya will give blessings upon them. So he's acting that role in this particular Leela, even though we need to know how great he is so that we can appreciate what he's performing, what he's doing.
No.
Thank you.
Do you want to ask a question? Do you want to ask a question?
Sorry, I was very excited before, I hand over to Prabhu. So my question was regarding Paniyati festival. When Nityananda Prabhu invited Sriman Mahaprabhu in the Leela, and they were offering chip rice and other preparations to each other. So it's mentioned that only certain devotees could see Mahaprabhu and certain devotees couldn't. So I was just wondering, is there a specific reason that only certain devotees could get the darshan of Mahaprabhu? Because we always hear that Krishna is equal to everyone, and in that assembly all the devotees were there. So
where do we hear that?
Krishna is in everyone's heart, and is
what verse in the Bhagavad Gita?
Can't recollect it now, but yes,
Who will say?
15 or 15, 18 or 16.
How about Samoham? So what, you know that verse?
I don't know by heart, but
okay.
Yes.
Does anyone know that verse? Samaham sababhuteshu name dvesho stina priya. But what's the next word? But I'm equal to everyone. I'm not envious of anyone or angry at anyone. But, say the rest of the verse. Yet, but who worships me with devotion, I'm especially with him. I especially manifest with that person. So, why he manifests to some and not to others? See, and actually, there are two very, very, what I thought was astonishing verses that I didn't read in that chapter. That in the middle of it, where it says that he was, where it says that he was always present in the house of Raghava Pandit when he was offering prasadam. And then there are two verses right after that when I looked at them, I thought these are very mysterious. There are some philosophical points that don't have very much to do with the Leela. And the points were that don't doubt that he is there with Raghava Pandit, because he is there as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every place. He's all-pervading. And some can see him, and some cannot. And if you don't believe that, sarvana, you're going to be destroyed. Which means also, if you turn that oppositely, if you do understand this, you'll be freed. That Krishna is everywhere. But what gives someone the ability to see him, and others don't have that ability? And what's your answer to that question? You can quote the Brahma Samhita if you like. Premandana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. I once heard Prabhupada lecture on this, a very early lecture, saying that it was perhaps even in 1966, he was saying some people ask if you can see God, but someone who has prema, has love, he doesn't see God one time. He sees him continuously because he's there already. There is no place where he's not. Right now, Krishna is personally present. But do we see Krishna present everywhere, in everyone's heart, and in every atom, between every atom? No, I cannot. But one who has love for Krishna, Krishna will reveal himself to that person. And he sees him everywhere. So in that lecture in 1966, Prabhupada was looking for the right word to say to describe what Prema Bhakti was, which gives someone the ability to see Krishna at all times, in all places, in all circumstances. And the word he thought of was, Prema Bhakti is like a magic wand. That you touch it, or you touch it, and it gives you this ability. So again, as Mataji was saying, this is Leela, because all those devotees are Nitya Siddha devotees. So some saw him by the arrangement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, some didn't. But he was there and is there everywhere at all times, as Krishna in the heart is there in all times. But yet I don't see him. Now think about what that means for you as an individual, that he's there and I don't see him. And we will say, naturally, we might think, why doesn't he allow me to see him? I thought he's equal to everyone. But instead of thinking like that, we should perhaps think, I'm so unfortunate that he's right there in front of me and I cannot see him because my heart doesn't have a drop of Prema Bhakti. And then you can be in line behind Mataji when you're praying to Lord Nityananda, only for a little bit of mercy. And I'll be behind you in next.
Any other? Mataji.
Mataji, you were saying that the fact that Jagai and Madai look like bad, but they were just also playing a role in the Leela, just for that understanding. But when you said that the only good thing that they did was like they didn't offend Vaishnavas, but we also heard that they were killing cows and brahmanas. So how do we understand that if we know that they're very dear to the Lord as well?
Well, Navadvip at that time, I'm just giving you're not supposed to guess, but I'm giving some thoughts I had on this, was that Navadvip at that time was not a place where there was a large number of Vaishnavas. That was written into the text, that the Vaishnavas were few, the direct devotional activities that were taking place were not very much. And so there were many brahmanas, but they were like proud smarta brahmanas. It explains also that they didn't come in touch with any Vaishnavas. Perhaps they would have done something different if they had. One time somebody told me that the reason why any of us are here is because we didn't perform Vaishnava aparat. And we were listening, and then that conversation continued, and they said that before you met Srila Prabhupada, you were sinful, you were papi, you were a sinful, low-born person, but you hadn't met any Vaishnavas yet. And so you didn't have a chance to perform Vaishnava aparat. And then you form a beautiful community of Vaishnavas, and now the risk is that you'll start performing Vaishnava aparat because now you're in the association of Vaishnavas. So I was thinking, I never thought of it like that before. But once we're in a community of Vaishnavas, we have a responsibility to be very careful, actually. And it's not easy because many of us come from a sinful background, so we find it hard work to actually appreciate that I'm surrounded by Vaishnavas of all different levels and stages and ages. So yes, they were sinful. They were very, very sinful. But they hadn't come across Vaishnavas until that time. Any other point?
Last question. Who shall ask the last question? Well, is it a real good one? Okay. Should we wait for the microphone to come to you? This is actually a very confusing retreat for me, because usually we expect Krishna to play the flute, but here we had Yashoda playing the flute and Krishna playing the violin. So confused. Yes, Prabhu. What was your question?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. My question was like Jagai and Madhai, they were born in such a high class Brahmin family, but like what happened that they got degraded so much?
Bad association.
And also it seems they had
Wait a
bad
second.
character.
After I say bad association, you're not supposed to just immediately say, and also. You're supposed to at least say, yes, that's a very good answer, my dear Kadu. And maybe there's something I could add.
Yes, that's a very good answer. And maybe there's something I could add.
Can you imagine what it's like at home? That's a very good question. Yes, go ahead, please. Okay. If you've ever seen a Bollywood movie, you know that everything has a happy ending. So here we are with a happy ending, and oh, I hate endings. We will see you all soon, by the mercy of the Prabhupada. So please chant Hare Krishna and be happy, and stay in the association of devotees, and see you soon. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Sri Radhavallabha ki jai. Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi ki jai. Sri Prabhupada Bhaktavinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare Hare